Good evening or good morning or whatever it is, wherever you are. Welcome back to our little studio. So today we are going to be doing a remote recording voiceover template with Source Nexus in Pro Tools. And what all those words mean is you'll be able to listen to people on Zoom, Teams, Google Meets, Source Connect, Source Nexus, and Skype if you're in the 90s. And in this template, you'll be able to hear everyone and everyone will be able to hear you. And most importantly, everyone will be able to hear each other if you've got them all on the line at the same time. Chances are that will never probably happen. But this template will cater for every single scenario, even recording another voiceover artist at the same time as you and everyone on Zoom or Meets or whatever being able to hear you both. So there, it takes a little bit of setting up, but once it's set up, you've got it for life and that's it. And you are absolutely bulletproof. And it's good for getting new clients because then you'll be able to engineer your own sessions. But first, we are going to look at what we need for this. And we're going to need a plugin. And this used to be about 400 quid when I bought it. And now you can get it for $11.95 a month. And you get some other stuff with it. But the only part of this Source Nexus suite we're interested in today is the Source Nexus plugin. So what on earth is the Source Nexus plugin? Well, it's a little gizmo that enables you to route audio all around and in between different apps on your computer. So what it does, it enables you to create these little kind of ghost audio drivers. And these things act as little inputs and outputs, which means you can set up a little session within your digital audio workstation. And you can listen to people off Source Connect, Zoom, or whatever at the same time. So today we're going to set up a little session in Pro Tools. But first, let me show you how to set up all the audio drivers in the Source Nexus control panel. So here it is. So all these little things with the blue square in are little audio drivers that I've created myself. And these are going to be used to route all our little comms devices in and around our session. So to create a driver, you hit this little plus thing up here. And then you name it, and we're going to call it Meets. And you can choose the number of channels. We're just going to have one because it's just carrying our mono voiceover signal around. So if we click done, that will appear. Is it alphabetical order? There it is. And if you want to get rid of it, you just click this little cross here. So I've got set up here Google Meets mic, Google Meets out. I've got 2-channel one here just in case I want to grab anything stereo off the internet. I've got Source Connect 4 mic and Source Connect 4 out. I've got Source Nexus. That's like a kind of free Source Connect, really. So I've got the send, which is the mic, and the return, which is the out. I've got Skype mic and a Skype out here, just in case anyone still uses Skype. You never know. Got a couple of Source Nexus ones, which I think are the default ones you get. And the Teams mic and out and Zoom mic and out. So they're all my little audio drivers that I've got set up. So you will need to set up your own drivers before you go into Pro Tools and before you start Pro Tools. So as per usual, I've set up a session from scratch with nothing in it. And first port of call, we're going to go to our I/O setup. And we're going to need a whole load of mono buses for this. So I think I calculated it to be 14 before I started recording. So we're going to go to new path and we're going to set up 14 mono buses, press create, and they're going to appear down the bottom here. Here they all are. So these buses are going to send and receive our signals all around our sessions. So what we're going to do is we're going to name all our devices send and receives. So for example, let's call this one Skype send and this one Skype receive. Google Meets send, Google Meets receive, and I will fast forward this and explain what they are at the end of my little fast forward sequence. Right, okay, so what we've got here is we've got a Skype send and receive bus, we've got Google Meet send and receive, Teams send and receive, Zoom send and receive bus, Source Connect 4 send and receive, Source Nexus send and receive, and a main mic bus. Okay, so let's just press OK. And for this session, we're going to bring into play our mix window. So we can either press Command and equals if you're on a Macintosh, or you can go to the window menu and just select mix there. And then it should just pop up. There it is. So yeah, I find this a lot less faffy to set up in the mix window than the edit window for some reason. Also, we're going to go to our view menu and we're going to go to mix window views. And we are going to make sure we've got inserts A to E selected, sends A to E, and we want sends F to J as well. So these sends are things that send signals around the session. But don't worry, I will explain how all these work in due course. It's a lot easier if I show you them in action. So let's begin with something easier. Let's just make some new tracks. So first of all, let's make our mic tracks. I'm going to make my usual aux input, call that mic in. Then let's make an audio track and call that our mic record track. Then let's route these tracks. Let's send our mic input down our mic bus and then have the mic record tracks input the mic bus. So that gets the mic signal. And let's just set the mic input to our audio interface mic input. There we go. There it is. And if we press record ready on our mic record track, yes, we're getting that. And let's just leave the mic record track on main output for the moment. We're also going to make another stereo audio track and we're going to call it guide audio. Let's just chuck that up there above the mic inputs. So the reason we've made this track is if we need to voice to some guide audio, say a bit of audio from a corporate film or a documentary, for example, or a bit of ADR, which is automated dialogue replacement. So that's when you're either trying to sync up to yourself or overdubbing someone else in a foreign language, or maybe just a bit of music to get the vibe for something. So let's crack on with the next bit of the session. We are going to make 11 mono aux inputs. So these are going to act as little buses carrying our signals to and from all our comms devices all around this session. And I'm not going to label them in this box because they're all going to be called something different. Also, let's hit the plus button here and we're going to make one mono audio track, which we're going to use as a record track for our Source Nexus input. Click create. All right, let's just hover between these tracks, get my little arrow sandwich thing, shift an option and just scrunch those up so they're more manageable to look at. So I'm going to start labeling these as the device to and froms, like the Teams to and Teams from and Google Meets to and Google Meets from, etc., etc. So again, I'm going to label these, fast forward it, and then explain what I've done. See you in a sec. Oh, welcome back. So what I've got here is I've got to and from Source Connect 4. I've got to and from Zoom, to and from Teams, to and from Google Meets, to and from Skype, although I'm not sure Skype actually even exists anymore. But if not, we can always use that for something else, so no dramas. And for the Source Nexus, it's slightly different. We've got an aux input for the to Source Nexus and a record track here, because this is the only little comms device that we are potentially going to record from. But if you're having a Source Nexus session, someone's recording you, just sling it on input monitor and you'll be able to hear them. More on that later. So what we're going to do is let's move over to our little mix window over here. I'm just going to move that over here like that. And let's expand it out. There we go. Lovely. And what we're going to do next is we're going to bring all our buses into play, the ones that we made in the I/O setup. Right, let's start with our mic sends. So we are going to go to our mic record track. And we're going to send that to Skype via the Skype send bus here. Then we get this little floating fader come up here, and you see there's no level being sent. So if we double click here on this little infinity sign, press 0, and that'll be sending our mic signal now to Skype at exactly the same level as we're getting on our mic record track. So next we're going to do the same thing for our Google Meet send, same for our Teams send, then Source Connect 4, then Zoom, and finally our Source Nexus send. So this mic signal will be sent to Skype, Google Meets, Teams, Source Connect 4, Zoom, and Source Nexus. Okay, so usually when we do a Source Connect session, we'll just be dialing in to them and they'll usually have the clients their end, and that'll be coming back down this from Source Connect 4 bus here, which we're going to set up in a bit. But just say there was a scenario where someone was on Zoom and they wanted to listen to whoever was on the end of the Source Connect 4 line. We're just going to set it up just in case that scenario ever arises. So we're going to make sure that whoever else is in the session, whoever's on Zoom, Teams, Google Meets, Skype, Source Nexus, can hear the Source Connect 4 guys. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy all these sends by holding Alt down, and then we're going to move those to the from Source Connect 4 channel here. Don't forget, we haven't set the inputs and outputs up yet, so we'll deal with that in a second. We're just going to set our sends up at the moment. So we're just going to copy all our sends over to our from Source Connect 4 aux input here. But we won't copy the Source Connect 4 send, otherwise it would just be sending it to itself, and that would be crazy. So now anything that's coming back from Source Connect 4, everyone else in the session will be able to hear once we've sorted out our inputs and outputs, which we'll come to in a second, I promise. So next, we want to make sure that whatever's coming back from Zoom, so whoever's on the other end of the line from Zoom, we want to make sure that the people on Teams, on Skype, on Meet, and Source Connect 4 can all hear them. Again, we're going to copy these over to the From Zoom channel, and we're going to copy the Skype one, the Google Meets one, the Teams one, not the Zoom one, we don't need to send it to itself, the Source Nexus one, and the Source Connect 4 one. Then we're going to move on to our From Teams bus. So we want everyone else to be able to hear whoever's coming back from the Teams channel here. So we're going to put the Skype send, the Google Meet send, not the Teams one, remember, the Source Nexus one, the Source Connect 4 one, and the Zoom, of course. Then let's move on to the Google Meets, and we are going to send the Google Meets signal to the Skype send, not the Google Meets, obviously, the Source Nexus, the Source Connect 4, the Zoom, and Teams. There we go, lovely. And from Skype, we want everyone to hear them, so we're not going to send the Skype one, obviously. We'll send them to Source Nexus, to Source Connect 4. We'll send them to Zoom. We'll send them to Teams. And we'll send them to Google Meets. Let's just snatch that one over there, copy that over there. And we don't need to set these faders to 0 dB because they were already set to that when we started copying them. And then finally, we are going to send the Source Nexus record track to everyone else. So that's going to go to the Source Connect 4, Zoom, Teams, Google Meets, Skype. There we go. Lovely. Right, so everyone in this session can hear everyone else, or they will be able to as soon as we set up our inputs and outputs. Let's do these one at a time. What we're going to do is we're going to go up to our inserts and we're going to finally bring our Source Nexus plugin into play. So we're going to click on the first insert slot, go to plugin, and in other, I think they are. There we go, Source Nexus IO. That's what we need. You can also find it in the Source Elements menu as well, FYI. You'll see on this plugin we've got a send and receive bus. So we're going to set these up with our little audio drivers that we made in the Source Nexus control panel way back at the beginning of the vid. And the send is going to carry our mic signal to whatever device we assign it to, like our Zoom, Teams, Source Connect, etc. And the receive is going to snatch the output from those devices and then send it down the output of whatever channel it's sitting on. So I'm going to put my mic track into record ready, and you can see all the signals leaving through those little buses there. Lovely. So what we want to do first is set this to Source Connect 4 channel up. We are sending this mic signal down the Source Connect 4 send bus. So the input on this channel we're going to set to Source Connect 4 send. And if we have a look at the Source Nexus plugin, we can see the signals being sent out of the send channel here. So we'll come back to this in just a second. I'm just going to finish off sorting out the routing on our to Source Connect 4 channel here. Putting this Source Nexus plugin here means that whatever we send to the input of this channel is going to get sent out to whatever driver we assign this send to, and whatever's coming into the Nexus from the receive channel. So we'll set the receive to Source Connect 4 for this one, for example. That will go out the output of the channel that the Source Nexus plugin's on. So we're going to send that to our From Source Connect 4 channel here. So I'm going to set the output of this channel to Source Connect 4 receive. And then I'm going to set the input of the From Source Connect 4 channel here to Source Connect 4 receive. So whatever's coming down the receive of the Source Nexus plugin travels out the to Source Connect 4 track into the From Source Connect 4 track. And that output will be set to the main output so that we can hear whatever's coming out of that. So next we're going to set up our sends and receives on our Source Nexus plugin. So we'll set that to SC4 mic, and the little submenu comes up here telling us how many channels there are. We've only got one, remember, and we're just going to click that one. And what we're going to do is we're going to spark up Source Connect 4 in just a second, and we are going to set the input of that to Source Connect 4 mic. So it's going to receive this little signal here. And then what we're going to do is going to go to the receive menu here, drop down there, and we're going to get the Source Connect 4 out, and we're again It's one channel, so we're just going to click that. And that is going to receive whatever's coming back from the Source Connect 4. And we're going to see that appear on this From Source Connect 4 channel in just a second. So I'm going to spark up Source Connect. Hi, this is me from the future. So the last time I tried to test Source Connect, because I wanted to show you how you can test that you're getting something back from Source Connect, but these echo tests sometimes aren't available for some reason, and I was having a right old nightmare. But I'm going to show you now what to do. So if you spark up Source Connect 4, you can see it's sending there. So that's all well and good. And I've got the receive coming back down the Source Connect 4 out. And in my settings, you can see the input is the SC4 mic, which is being sent from there, and the output is SC4 out. So that's being received there, so that's good. So what you need to do is you go on your contacts, go to Echo Test Mono, press Connect, and then you should get your signal bouncing back. Right, okay, so I'm connected. So it's just echoing it back. And as long as you can see something down the receive, then you're all good to go. Okay, back to the video. So we're going to move on to our Zoom setup now. And we're just going to drag and copy this, holding Alt down, and we'll copy that Source Nexus plugin over to the To Zoom channel. First, let's sort out our routing. So we're going to set the input to Zoom send, output to Zoom receive, because remember, whatever's coming into that channel, the Source Nexus will send, and whatever's coming back into the Source Nexus, we can send out to this little From Zoom channel here. So we're just going to go and set that to Zoom receive. And we're going to go up to our Source Nexus, and we're going to change this send to Zoom mic. There we go. And again, that little menu comes up and we can see it's one channel. So we're just going to select that. And you can see the signals getting sent to the Zoom mic. So that's good news. Then we are going to go to Zoom out, select number 1, and that is going to be whatever's coming back from the Zoom. And we are going to test that right now. So we're going to go to our settings menu. Let's go to audio. I've got it set up. There we go. Zoom mic. And then it's set to zoom out. All the drivers will appear in this little drop down here. And then if we just press test speaker, I'll just move this out of the way so you can see it's working. And there we go. It's coming up at the From Zoom channel there. Obviously, if you think it's too loud coming back from the Zoom, you can adjust the level here on the fader. Right, let's move on to the next one. And let's do the Teams one next. Let's copy that one over and click on that. Let's set these up first. So the send is going to be the Teams mic. The receive is going to be the Teams out. So we just need to set our channel inputs and outputs. So I'm just going to set that as Teams send. And now we can see it's being sent out there. Lovely. And then we're going to set the output of this channel to Teams receive. And then from Teams, we are going to put the input of that to Teams receive and then leave that on main output. And let's check that we can hear Teams and that we're sending everything perfectly. So I've set the audio settings here. I think you click on settings and devices and we can see Teams out is the speaker. Teams mic is the microphone. I'm not sure how you test this actually. I mean, it definitely works. Anyway, that'll be fine. Let's just quit out of that and pretend that never happened. Next, let's move on to Google Meets. We've copied that over again. Let's just change the send to GM mic. There we go. And then let's change that receive to GM out. Let's change the to GM input to GM send. And we'll change the output to GM receive. And let's just set the input of the From GM channel to GM receive. And I think I know how to check this one. There we go. We can see some audios coming in there. Let's just click on the settings. And you can see our drivers are routed to the in and out there, microphone and speaker. Here we go. Let's just test the speaker. Just move that out of the way. Yeah, that's my favorite little test jingle, actually. We can see the mic there's doing something. That's good. Lovely stuff. So the last common device is going to be Skype. But as we've established, it doesn't exist anymore. But we can use this for any other comms device that we might find lurking on the internet. So let's just copy that over there. close that one down. Let's click on this one. Send that to Skype mic. Send the receive to Skype out. And let's route the channels. Let's go to bus, Skype send. There we go. Off it goes. And then the receive. And then we're going to set the receive of the from Skype there. And yeah, I mean, that'll be fine. And obviously we can't check this because it doesn't exist. So lastly, we are going to just copy one more. There we go. Set these for Source Nexus mic, Source Nexus out. Then we are going to set the input of that, Source Nexus send, and then the output of the channel is going to go to Source Nexus receive. And we're going to set the record track to Source Nexus receive. There we go. And then if we want to hear what's coming back from Source Nexus, we need to put it on input monitor there or have it on record ready. So let's just test that one. And we've set our microphone, SN mic. Yep, that's cool. And then SN out for the speaker. And then if we press test, let me just get the record ready. Oh, the input monitor on. There we go. You can see it being sent there. And then we just press test. Very boring test signal. That's my least favorite test signal, actually, that one, for the record. And so, yeah, in this session, we can record from Source Nexus. We can have someone on Zoom or Skype or Google Meets, and they can hear them being recorded and us being recorded. We can record ourselves on this track. And also, if we go to our track drop-down menu, we can select playlists. And that means we can just stash all our takes in our playlists, so we can grab each of them and label them as we go along and keep things very organized. And we can do the same for the Source Nexus track as well if we want. In fact, let's just bring them up there. So we've got both the record tracks near each other. There we go. So next, I just wanted to show you this. It's a really cool, useful plugin from Radix called Mute-o-matic. And best of all, it's free. So this is like an auto talkback plugin. So every time you press play or record, it automatically mutes the track it's sitting on. So that means if somebody's on the end of Zoom or Teams, then they don't have to press their mute button. You can do it all from here and look really professional. Okay, let me just show you what it does. So let's, for example, put it on from what's coming back from our Zoom. So we're going to put it on the From Zoom channel. So let's go to plugin, Radix, Mute-o-matic. This is what it looks like. So you want it set up like this. So when you press record or play, it'll auto-mute this channel. So anyone on the other end of that Zoom call will be automatically muted once you press record or play, which means they won't have to mute their end, which is a nice, convenient little way of working. Sometimes they might want to jump in or whatever, so you can just disable the Mute-o-matic plugin if that's the case. And if you just watch it, I'm going to press record. See, it's just muted there. It's muted that channel, which is great. And again, if I press play, same thing. So yeah, it's a really cool little free plugin. And I normally have these on the From Teams, from Zoom, from Google Meets, from Skype. And I normally have it on the Source Connect because I'm normally just connecting to an engineer or producer. So I'll mute them when I'm recording. Probably won't have it on the Source Nexus if I'm recording someone, but I would if I had a producer on the other end of the line and I was using Source Nexus as a Source Connect kind of thing. But if I was recording someone, I would just bypass this. So I just right click and make inactive for now. So that is a full bulletproof remote recording template, which you can use. And it's set up so that you can just load it up. And whether you're doing a Source Connect record or whether you're doing a Source Connect and a Zoom, or you just want a client to listen in to you on Zoom, or you're doing a Source Nexus session, every single avenue is covered. And that is almost it. Actually, there's one more thing I wanted to show you, and it's this guide audio channel. I said we were going to come back to it, and here we are. So the guide audio channel is for if you've got a bit of guide audio from a video or a bit of music that you need to voice along to. So let's get something in here. Right, I'll just get one of my old tunes in so I don't get done for any copyright infringement. Put that in the clip list and drag it onto the guide audio. It's very loud, so I'm just going to turn that down. So let's just go back to our mix window. At the moment, everything is being sent post fader, which means that if we were to take our voice down here, then wherever this signal is being sent to, they are going to hear exactly the same level as what you're messing around with here. So when you're recording, you'll probably want this quite low so it's not too distracting, but your client might want it a little bit higher in the mix. So what we do is we send everything pre-fader, which even if you take your level down here, I'm going to just go to the volume menu. Let's just select that and hover over that little line and pull that down. So you've got the music nice and low, but they might want it a little bit higher. So what you can do is you can send the level to them, what's called pre-fade. So let me show you how to do that. First of all, let's move all the sends over to our guide audio. So everybody will be able to hear whatever's on this track. So let's click on the Skype one here. And you see this little button here above the mute called pre? That means we'll be sending this signal pre-fader. So it's going to be sending the signal before it gets to our main fader on the mix window. And whatever level we send on our send bus is what the client will receive. And it won't affect what you're listening to. I normally leave it about here at -20 as a starting point. And let's do the same for all of these. And obviously you can adjust these if the client starts moaning and saying it's too loud or it's too quiet. And whatever volume your music is here, that's not going to affect them at all. Right, let's just take my music down a little bit and I can have a nice little recording session and the music's not bothering me at all. But if the client wants it a bit louder, they can. So this brings me neatly on to the last thing I wanted to mention, which is something that always trips me up. I think in Google Meets, Teams and Zoom, there is a noise suppression issue. So if you are playing back music, I think the default setting is that it kind of suppresses the music and it kind of brings all the dialogue to the front. So sometimes they can't hear the music in the background and get really irritated. So I will just show you what to do just to make sure all the settings are right. So let's go to Zoom first, because I think that's the most complicated one. So what we do is we go to our settings menu, go to audio, and then we go down to microphone modes and make sure it's on original sound for musicians and high fidelity music mode. Because I think it's normally set to noise removal. So it will remove all the background noise. So if you are playing background sound, they won't be able to hear it and they start getting all antsy. So just make sure that is sorted there. And in Teams, I think there's a noise suppression button. Oh, there we go. Yeah. So just make sure noise suppression is off in devices, in your devices menu, in your settings menu. And on Google Meets, go to settings and those three dots there. And then, yeah, you want to make sure filters out sound from your mic that isn't speech is off and you should be golden. Oh, and just a little bit of advice for Source Nexus as well. If you click on the settings here, just make sure you're on Use Original Audio HQ. Make sure that's on. Otherwise, you'll get all sorts of squelchy nonsense, and that's horrible. Oh, one last thing I want to do is put a playback track in, because if we're having a little sesh with someone on Source Nexus and they want to do a drop into something they've just recorded, we need a playback track because they can't hear their record track because we can't route what's coming in from them back to them or they'll get feedback. So we need a playback track so that we can play what they've recorded back to them so that if they're doing a drop-in, for example, they'll be able to hear the audio before the point they drop in and then they can just drop in, no worries. And also on that playback track, we want everyone else to be able to hear that so they can hear the drop-in go smoothly and all that sort of thing. So let's just make an audio track, just a mono one, and we're going to call this playback. And we're just going to leave that routed to the main output. And let's just get my mix window up. And I'm going to send this playback track to everyone so everyone in the session can hear it if they're all here, if they're all in attendance. So there we go. And obviously I'm going to send it to the Source Nexus as well, because they're going to want to hear it if they're doing a drop-in. So yeah, that's it. And that is it. That's the final thing. This session is now perfect. So that is it. That is your go-to template for remote audio. And I hope it's a lot of use to you and gets you loads more clients, but not as many as me. well done for making it to the end of that one. I appreciate that one was pretty heavy going. But like I said, once you've done it, you don't have to do it again. Anyway, I've uploaded this to my Patreon if you can't be asked to do it, so you can just grab it there. So I will see you in the next video, and you can, like I said, get the template from my Patreon, and I'll do a handy PDF as well. Link in the old description. But for now, it's class dismissed, and don't forget, YouTube responsibly and like and subscribe.